What's up, everybody? I hope you're doing well. So several months back, I put a poll out on Instagram asking what some of your biggest fears are in private practice. And so far, I've made 2 videos addressing your top 2 biggest fears, which were, what if I don't get enough clients in private practice? And what if I don't make enough money in private practice? Well, today I'm gonna address your 3rd biggest fear in private practice, and that is, what if I get too isolated in private practice? Welcome to Private Practice Skills. I'm Dr. Marie Fang, psychologist in private practice. I post videos offering tools I learned the hard way about starting and growing private practice so that you don't have to. Now, the fear of becoming too isolated in private practice is a completely legitimate concern. And in fact, there are so many therapists working in private practice who are feeling very isolated and dealing with all of the negative impacts of that. Now, not only is the nature of being a therapist inherently isolating because of confidentiality, which means that we don't go and blab about all the stuff that happens in session outside of session, but also for those of us who are solo private practice owners, we don't have that sort of built-in community that can come in a group practice, or if you work at an agency where you can kind of check in with your colleagues. Add on top of that we are working remotely right now, and many of you all are offering exclusively teletherapy from your home, and it can become incredibly isolating. But that doesn't at all need to mean that if you are working in private practice that you're somehow doomed to feeling isolated all the time. It does take a bit of intentionality, but there is a way to make sure that you're surrounded by supporters so that you never have to feel isolated no matter what capacity you're operating in right now. So here are a few tips to help minimize isolation in private practice. First and foremost, if you don't have one yet, make sure you get plugged into a consultation group. Just knowing that there's a group of people who know the ins and outs of the challenges you're experiencing with your clients and your practice, who you can turn to at any point that you need support, is incredibly helpful and minimizes isolation, not to mention it's the ethical thing to do on your client's behalf. If you're not yet plugged into a consultation group and you're not sure how to go about finding one or creating one, I have a whole video all about that, so I've linked to that below if you would like to check that out. Tip number 2, join a local Facebook group for therapists. Now, chances are high that in your area there's more than one local group for the therapists on Facebook, whether it's within your city or your county, or if you have to expand this wide, I'm sure there's at least one within your state. And it's really helpful to join this group, maybe connect with some folks who share some similar specialties, and just know that you have support there if you need it. It's very helpful. And in that same vein, tip number 3 is to join a specialized Facebook group. Meaning it doesn't have to be local to your area per se, but a Facebook group of fellow therapists across the nation or even the world who share some of your similar specialties or interests. So whether it's like an online therapist Facebook group, which there are some really big ones out there, or if it's more niche down into, the types of folks that you work with, diagnoses, etc. There are lots of niche specific Facebook groups available for therapists. So it's worth doing a search and kind of plugging into some of those that apply to you and getting connected. Tip number 4, find kindred spirits on social media or, just the internet in general. In fact, rewinding 9 years ago when I got started in private practice, it was almost non-existent to find therapists on social media. So I just did Google searches when I got started in private practice in my area and looked for therapists who, just seemed cool. And I would randomly send them an email, let them know that I was new in the area starting in private practice and I thought they seemed cool for XYZ reason and I'd love to treat them to coffee. 9 out of 10 of those folks didn't respond, and I don't blame them. I'm sure they get all kinds of messages in their inbox, but for the 1 out of 10 folks who did respond, I made some really great friendships that way and felt really interconnected with the therapists in my area. Not to mention that I also had some really great referral sources from those therapists, and that really helped me when I was first getting started. And these days you don't have to be confined to local therapists or just doing like vague Google searches for therapists, because there are so many therapists on social media now, which is awesome, and I love it. And you can do some specialized searches, whether you use hashtags or whatever you want to do to find therapists who feel like kindred spirits to you, and comment on their posts, send them a DM, send them a message, and just connect with them. Tip number 5, find local listservs, and participate in whatever kinds of social gatherings that they have going on. Now, if you're not sure where to find those local listservs, a starting point could be to check in with your local psychological associations. So for example, my county has a psychological association and they have like monthly get-togethers, virtual gatherings for the time being, just ways to connect with other local therapists. So this is a great way to just plug in easily with folks in your area. And tip number 6, foster your social life outside of private practice. Don't forget about all of those relationships with your non-therapist friends as well. And if you're feeling like you're kind of lacking in the social support department in general, this is a great time to kind of rekindle your friendships outside of therapy land, because it is so important to just take off our therapist hat from time to time and just connect with other people as humans. Of course, this is just kind of a starting list to help you get the ball rolling and give you some ideas, but keep in mind that whatever strategies are available to you, they're only effective if you're intentional about leaning into them. So this might be a good time to kind of do an internal inventory of what kind of self-care needs you have, what kind of social support you have, and be intentional about choosing 1 or 2 strategies to lean into in order to shift that if need be. And thank you to TherapyNotes.com for sponsoring this video. TherapyNotes has all the tools you need in one platform in order to manage your practice, including their HIPAA secure telehealth platform, which, super fun fact, is now free for all of their EHR users. That means if you're subscribed to TherapyNotes, you don't have to pay any extra money for their telehealth platform, which makes it super affordable as an all-in-one platform. If you'd like to check out TherapyNotes, you can get 2 months to try it for free with no commitment just by clicking the link in the description of this video. Well, I hope you found this video helpful. If you're afraid that you might be too isolated, if you ever ventured into private practice, or if maybe you're in private practice right now and you're feeling isolated, let other folks know in the comments what sorts of tools and tips have helped you feel less isolated in private practice. And until next time, from one therapist to another, I wish you well. Oh, it's gonna be a long day. I'm getting out of breath. If you didn't know, there's a person growing in here taking all my oxygen or something. Did anybody else just get a perpetual runny nose while they were pregnant?